I was not Trish's friend when I first started on television, and I felt like we have one of those bonds of she's one of my dearest friends, and I love her and I respect her so much. She's one of the hardest working women.
Slammiversary takes place on June 19th on pay-per-view. 20th anniversary of Slammiversary, pretty much the 20th anniversary of Impact. So other than it being the 20th anniversary, how will this show stand out from previous Slammiversaries?
Well, obviously, I mean, there's a lot of history that has been made over the last 20 years.
Right.
And I know that people want to be here, and there's going to be some surprises. So you're in for some surprises, obviously, because it is such a monumental show. But there's also some historic matches happening. And, you know, I'm not going to brag about us, but we do have some of the best wrestlers on television right now. And there's going to be some incredible matches. And one in particular that I'm invested in is the Queen of the Mountain match for the first time ever. A match that was, you know, typically saved for the men. The women are now having the first ever Queen of the Mountain match, all former champions, all vying for the championship, a championship that's very special to me.
Right.
So yeah. And now, because I don't know if you know, or if you heard the news, I called Gail the other day because I was like, you know what? There's no way that Slammiversary is going to be 30 minutes from my house. I've been a little naked without the championship now for a couple months, been in this reset mode of like, what's next for Mickie James? What am I going to do? And I was like, there's no way Slammiversary is coming to my backyard and I'm not going to be a part of it. So you are looking at the special enforcer for the Queen of the Mountain.
Wow.
Match. Everything is going to be on the up and up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
No shenanigans.
See, I was going to ask you about that because you weren't scheduled for a match. I'm like, you got to be part of Slammiversary, especially with the history of you and Impact. So
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Oh,
I wouldn't miss it for the world. I mean, I would have been there regardless, but I'm like, I got this.
And
plus, I got to get a firsthand look. I got to get a bird's eye view, if you will, of who I'm going to take this championship from next.
Oh, no doubt. Absolutely.
Yes.
But I do want to talk about you and the championship in a little bit, but you know, obviously it's going to be in Nashville. You mentioned 30 minutes away from your house, specifically at the Nashville Fairgrounds, and Nashville and Impact have a lot of history. So yeah. How important was this show to be back in Nashville?
I think it's so special. And I think about little Alexis Laree, who showed up to the Nashville Fairgrounds and ate at the White Trash Cafe and was, you know, the birth of really my career on television. Because at that point, I'd only been, prior to going to TNA at the time, Impact Wrestling here at the Fairgrounds, I had been on Ring of Honor and I'd done like local stuff, MCW Back Home, and kind of worked myself up the scene. But it was the first time people saw me on television in a prominent role. And I got to sit there and learn, because I was immediately put with Raven and his learning tree. And he's, you know, a crazy madman and a genius. And also Jeff gave me the opportunity to be the first woman in the ever in the Clockwork Orange House of Fun match, and the only woman for like a decade that ever did that match. And to be able to learn from him and put in that position. But I really think that, you know, those opportunities that I got then helped create more opportunities. It was like the start of the momentum of my career. And also, like, it's just like there was so many people that came through the Nashville Fairgrounds, and, you know, as the rise of Impact Wrestling, and it's going to be cool to see what familiar faces we see that surprise us and come back to share this. You know, it's really a celebration of, you know, so many moments that really, I think, in modern wrestling have like paved the way for the future of what we're seeing today in every company. So it's amazing. I'm really excited about it.
Oh, absolutely.
And plus, there's no place like Nashville, and Nashville fans are amazing.
Yeah, I've been to Nashville quite a few times, and my company is actually based in Nashville. So Nashville's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it.
So much fun.
It really is. And you know, you talk about you being an Impact when it basically first launched in 2002. And I remember when Impact started, it was right after WCW closed, and they were, it was looking for more competition with WWE. So
Right.
so what does it mean for
And
you? For
ECW was really kind of fizzled out, like it kind of gone out of business as well, so there really wasn't a whole lot of like it was still kind of a thing, but it was on the downward spiral. So it was the rise of this baby company out of obscurity, out of nowhere, and I really think that it provided a lot of my friends at the time, opportunities to be seen on television, and it really launched a lot of their careers. And some of them stayed around and were like almost lifers and stuck around the whole time. And Impact was always ahead of the curve, like with the X division and the knockouts, especially. And obviously I love women's wrestling, and I'm biased, and that's okay. But I will say that they've always been ahead of the curve with the women and how women are presented on television. And I think that the knockouts division as a whole, especially in that Gail, Awesome Kong, and like the legitimacy of like what the women were allowed to do, kicked down the door of opportunity in every other company of give divas a chance, give women's wrestling matters, and all these other things, because the fans started to realize like, no, these women aren't the popcorn matches or aren't like just the campy entertainment filler. Like these women can go, and it's been amazing. It's been cool to see from the start of Alexis Laree to me going away and having an awesome career at WWE, but then to see this division really flourish and come to light, and then to be able to come back after, WWE, and then rebrand myself and reinvent myself and become almost more authentic than I ever have, closer to me as a human with Hardcore Country, Mickie James, and have such success there as that. And it was like it was almost like a whole new chapter of my career. I have a very different perspective because I was there, then I left, then I came back and was able to do that. And then I left again. And then I was able to come back this last year, which was completely unexpected. This last year's been a whirlwind, and do so much stuff that I couldn't even fathom at the time, so yeah.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of this past year, one of the things you got to do, and specifically it was in January, is you competed in the Women's Royal Rumble for WWE as the Impact Knockout Champion. Did you ever think something like that would happen for you, and really for Impact to be able to cross over kind of to WWE?
No, and not even in wrestling in general. I didn't think it would happen for me. I didn't think it would happen on television. And I didn't think, regardless of what championship it was, like in modern day, I didn't think that was a possibility, period, of co-branding, just because I've been in both worlds and I know how they operate. It's just it's not like something that I ever thought was actually feasible. And, that opportunity was so humbling for me. And it was like really gratifying on so many levels because of everything, on the last year that had happened, because of, kind of how I had felt about myself, even when I left WWE that last time. And it was I was so grateful. And I have so many emotions over that night. And I'm so thankful that I was able to do that, but also that both companies respected me and trusted me enough to know that I was going to do it right. And I feel like that night, like it opened up the door to so many more opportunities for hopefully future people. And like we're currently seeing, like Cody Rhodes just came back and stuff like that, where people didn't think that was a possibility before. And it's just changed. The business is changing, and I think there's just like a lot of incredible talent out there. And I'm just grateful that, Impact seems to have a lot.
Absolutely. And to stand on WWE, you obviously had a tremendous storyline with Trish Stratus, one of my favorite storylines in wrestling history. Oh, yeah, of course. So I know you try to stay in touch with Trish. So how is your relationship with Trish now? How often do you guys connect?
I actually just saw her at the Alabama Comic Con. It was for the
Oh,
first
yeah.
time ever here in the States. Trish, Lita, and I had a panel together, and we did photo ops together. It was my first like appearance with. We'd done one overseas in Liverpool, but this was the first with the three of us together. We're still friends to this day, and it's like it's crazy. I was not Trish's friend when I first started on television, and I felt like we have one of those bonds of she's one of my dearest friends, and I love her and I respect her so much. She's one of the hardest working women in and out of wrestling. Like, but that story not only set me up in my career as far as television and how people perceived me thereafter, because it elevated me immediately out of the gate, but the fact that we just had good chemistry, and we had a good kinship and friendship in the sense of like because we were both working towards the common goal, and she had been there on television working at that goal the whole time of like to legitimize women's wrestling. And we both we knew we were getting an opportunity, and we could like, if we can sell this and we can make it amazing, the people will really do it. And they did. And we were able to really like cultivate and create like a moment for women's wrestling that I think changed people's perception of, how women's wrestling is what they're capable of. So it was magic. It's like that moment, obviously coming back at the Rumble. And I will say probably the Texas Death match, and then the cage match against Tara. Those are like my top 4 moments of like my brain in wrestling.
Absolutely, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And the last question for me before I let you go, obviously Impact's been around for 20 years. It has grown a lot since then in 2002. But where do you see Impact going the next 20 years?
Oh man, there's only one way up.
Yeah.
And that's all the way up,
Absolutely.
No. Yeah, I pray for nothing but the greatest, because I think that we have some of the greatest talent out there. We certainly have the strongest women's division on the planet, and I'm not ashamed to say it, because I truly believe that. And I think that people kind of sleep on Impact sometimes, and I think that's what the true fans, like our true fans, have stuck with us from day one on this journey, and I think that we'll continue to make history, because that's what we do.
Absolutely right about that. Well, Mickie, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. Of course. Yeah. Continued success to you, and good luck at Slammiversary.